Alright guys, I'm back. So this is Mikhail from Yahweh Games. Today we're going to do some animation for our character. I don't know why, but I think I'm going to call him Gus. My son and I kind of have this running joke about Gus. I'm not willing to let you guys in on it, but I think he would appreciate it if I called him Gus. So let's go for it. Gus. Okay, so what we're going to do with Gus is we got to get him animated. So the objective of this video is to rapidly prototype animation for programmers. Now, programmers don't need a lot of content, they just need functional content. So a lot of the times an animation department will kind of take something that they've already had before and just throw it into an engine and just hand it over to the programmer. They'll take any old model, and a programmer doesn't need much to get started. They just need the basic stuff. Idle, a hit, being hit, an attack 1, probably an attack 2 would be a good idea, a run, and a walk. Depending on the game too, most games nowadays have an additional idle. And so if you have two separate idles, one idle is called Garrison and the other one's called deployed. The difference between the two is when you're in town, your weapon is sheathed, you're in Garrison. If you're deployed, well then you draw your weapon and brandish it. Alright? That's the difference. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a couple things. I usually like to start out with doing an idle. Alright? So some things that you guys might want to consider is when you're setting your character up, just go ahead and freeze your mesh. Now we've skinned this in a previous video, so he's pretty much good to go. The first thing that I would like to say is that if you're going to try to animate your character, you got to take him out of figure mode. This is figure mode here, okay? So if I try to animate him right here, it's going to throw an error. It's going to say keys may not be set when in figure mode. So we got to undo that move, take it out of figure mode. And I think this guy's already got some calisthenics on it right here. All right, this is kind of my funky file I like to do to test my skin. And we can do a calisthenics animation a little later or some other time. Honestly, I'm too hyped up to do some animation. I did some last night for class and just was so excited. This is my first opportunity to get back in here and do some more. So how are we going to idle this guy? You know, I like to work on a grid. I want you guys to understand something, that feet, when you animate feet in this program, feet have a very distinct method to deal with like not sliding around, right? So in using max biped, we'll get to the feet probably in a whole other video, and I think it's worth bringing up. So right now though, all I'm going to do is get him posed up. This is going to be a good guy, so I'm going to kind of give him a little bit of an attitude here, you know, maybe something like this. Oh, look at that, our eyes are not connected to the head. That's okay, we'll get that in a minute. It's not important. Okay, so hit page up. So some of the controls that you might want to consider using is first and foremost, when you're animating something, never use the view axis. Always try to use local, okay, and animate on the axis itself. All right. Something else to consider is when you're using your gizmos, you can actually hit the plus and minus symbol and it'll actually grow and shrink your selection, okay? When you're selecting a bone, you can hit page up and page down. So hitting page up will walk up the bones. Page down will move down the bones. So that's page down. Page up goes this way, okay? Something else you might want to do too is when you do copy paste. Okay, I have a different video on bind poses, all right, but I also have different videos on different collections. So this collection is blank, so why don't we call this one action? All right, this collection is called action. And how you make a collection is you hit this little shiny button here, and then you name it. And when you create your action is like a list of all your action poses. So I'm going to go ahead and relax his hand a bit. Maybe something like this. And go with a little bit of a spread here. Let's grab this like so. Something like this. Just a little bit of some relaxed hand. And then I'm also going to bend this finger outwards a bit, right? So we can kind of have this like cascading finger kind of thing going on. All right, so that hand's good to go. I'm also going to double click the hand and deselect the palm. And so I can store it inside my posture. I can do hand underscore relaxed underscore 00 because I'll probably have more than one. Okay, and then just simply paste it on the other side by pressing the paste opposite button. Okay, so the other thing I like to do too is I kind of like to offset the feet because nobody stands parallel, you know. So I'll just bring one foot up, rotate it out, rotate the other one away, bring it back a bit. All right, now he's balanced. All right, and then I'm also going to do is, you know, if I've got left foot forward, I'm going to go ahead and grab his upper arm and move his left arm forward a little bit and keep his right arm or his left arm back and his right foot back. Right, so this is probably pretty good. You know, he looks kind of chill. You know, his clavicles are pretty straight. You know, I can droop him a little bit. I think I could probably get something out of it. You know, he's just kind of slouched. He's very careless. He just doesn't care. You know, I can take his eyeballs. I'll just go ahead and hide them. They don't make any difference right now. We can relink them in another video or something. I think the other thing that I want to do too is bend his feet a bit. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and work on the idle. And then once I explain how the idle works, I'll stop this video and start a new video, and we'll deal with the planting of the feet. Okay, so for the most part, frame 0 is going to be my starting point, and I'm going to copy that to frame 100. I'm also going to copy it to frame 50. So, you know, if you want to make math easy for yourself, just remember for every 30 frames you have is 1 second of animation. So what I'm doing is if I do 30, 60, 90, we're actually using 3 seconds of animation. So technically I can come in here and move this to 45, whoops, and go to 90. What happened? Move this one over here to 90. I think that would probably be wiser, is just to go ahead and just, you know, hunker down and use 90 frames. So how did I just do that? I changed my timeline from 100 to 90. There's a button down here in the bottom right hand corner called time configuration. Where are you hiding? I just hit it. Oh, this down here is a little clock with a gear on it. And then you just go to end time and switch it to 90. All right, so now if I scrub through, my character's animation is officially 90 frames. Okay, 3 seconds. So if I go to frame 45, I'm going to go ahead and buckle his spine a little bit. Let's see, how many degrees am I on this? Let's move it 0.5 degrees. So if you right click on your angle snap tool and go to angle and do 0.5, you can actually rotate it down. That's 2 degrees is pretty good. And I'll go ahead and rotate his head down a little bit. And so now if I hit play, he's going to be breathing. Okay, but you have to understand something. When a person breathes, their spine and their head are not in sync with each other. What I like to do as a first movement is to move the root bone. I move the root bone first, then the spine, then the head. That's my way of doing things. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys the process. So think of this portion for an efficient individual, somebody who's been using 3D for a little while and they just want to see my process on a breathing idle. And then I'll stop the video. I'll do another one. We'll learn how to plant and set free keys and all that stuff. So I'm going to select both keys or both feet. I'm going to open up the key info and hit the sliding key. I'm going to copy this to the first, the 45th, and the 90th keyframe. And I'm going to go to frame 45 and I'm going to move him down. I'm going to bend his knees just a little. I don't want to do it a lot. It's subtle. So what I want to do is I move my camera so I can only see the legs, and I just want to see how much the knees are bending. Okay, that's actually not bad, so let's roll with that. And I think what I'm going to do too, I'm going to lift his foot a bit, something like that. Let's just go ahead and copy that to all three here. Let's play it out and see what happens. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to offset the spine. So you guys saw me move rotate the spine a little while ago, right? So I'm going to grab all 3 bones, and I'm going to take it off 45. I'm actually going to buckle it halfway from between 45 and 90, okay? So if you go 30, 60 is second number 2, and then 90 frames. We're going to put this around the 70 mark, all right? And that means we're going to go over here to the 30 mark, and we're going to copy the first frame, and we're going to actually animate backwards, maybe like 2 or 3 degrees. How about we go like, what is that? It's 1.5, -2 degrees. So this was what happens, is that as his pelvis is dropping, he's going to drop at 45. Okay, so let's just do that. So let's look and see. I'm his root bone. Right. So his root bone is moving down at 45. So that means the halfway point is probably like 23. That's what I should have done. Is like, so just move the keyframe. Oh, I don't have a spine set up here. So let's go ahead and set this to spine. And we'll just move this to 25, or 23 I mean. And then this one over here, halfway point, we're going to move this to 67. Let's try that. Okay, and then the head, what the head's going to do is, currently the head is dipping down at 45, but the head is actually going to dip late. It's going to come after the breath. So we actually have to dip his head at frame 90 and frame 0. So we're going to switch. We're going to switch 45 and 0 around. Let's go like this. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. So not right now his body's dropping straight down. His breath is breathing out. He's exhaling, and his head is behind his spine. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to give him a little bit of an orbital movement. Okay, so part of the thing that I like to do is see, right now he's just moving up and down and up and down. I'm going to remove the side to side, basically the X and Y axis, not the Z. I'm going to leave Z alone. The red key is X and Y. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to the left a little bit, and I'm going to move it to the right a little bit on this side. Okay. And we're going to look at the trajectory. So this button over here is called trajectory. I have my root bone selected. So if I zoom in, I can see that I've created this mini loop. And so over here, the position is up. Over here, the position is down. And then so he's moving in an orbital fashion. Okay? But he shouldn't just be moving orbital from the front. He should also be moving in an ellipse from this way too. So what we've got to do is we've got to move him back a little bit. We've got to copy this frame to 0. Okay, and we've got to come over here to 45. We've got to push him to the front just a little bit. Okay, something like that. See now how he's moving at an ellipse? So if I do go to the side view, okay, and go to his front view, we have an angled ellipse here. So let's see what that's going to do. This kind of gives this illusion that he's just not stationary. And this might be a little too much, but when you're looking at the character from the back, you know, and you're observing everything else that the character sees, you know, like third-person camera, you don't really notice it all that much. And, you know, you're just looking out here, and it just kind of adds something. So just go ahead and roll with that. Okay, that's my idol for the most part. Like, you know, of course we want to add some clavicle in there. So if I come over here and I grab the clavicle, when he breathes in, right, we want to accentuate the inhale. So that means he's inhaling about here. So let's go 15 degrees. Let's crank his clavicle up a little bit. It's 2 degrees here. Let's see if that does anything. And then we'll drop 2 degrees down on 60. We'll just see how that works. And we might have to play with the timing. So it's like really his shoulders are now getting into his breath. He feels more alive, you know. And we can tell there's a difference because of his hands too. And so what we're going to do too is over here around 45. We're going to tighten his hands up just a little bit, just to show that he's living. You know, a lot of people use their hands to breathe and move and have their being. So we want their hands to feel living. So we're just going to tighten it just a little, maybe something like that. So this way, when he's moving, when he's animating, let's see what he's doing now. And actually what I'm going to do, I think that this will help, is, you know, he releases his clinch a little fast. And the reason is because his clavicle bone is real tight over here. So I'm just going to copy his hands. Okay, I'm going to copy them, store them for just a minute. I'm going to paste them, and I'm going to delete it out because I'll probably never use that collection again. So now he's got a little bit more time to release. He's basically got a second of time to get relaxed. See? That's pretty good. Now, what about the spine? You know, I do understand that the spine is facing forward and his spine is bending. But what about a twist? So I think what we're going to do is we're going to position his body a little bit more on guard. Just add 3 degrees. And we're going to do that throughout the whole thing. All right. Okay, so at least there's consistency first. Three here. Okay, so now if I hit play, he might be hunching over too much here. It makes him feel a little tired. All right, so I'm going to pull back on a degree. 1 degree, now 1.5, just 1. Okay, let's try that. All right, so this is him in Garrison. He's just moseying around. Like, honestly, this type of idol for this particular character is probably really good for an NPC. You know, just somebody who's worn out from life, just had this, you know, exhaustion for all of their days or whatever. I think I'm going to add a little bit more shoulder too, just a little bit. So we're going to breathe in a little bit more inhale. Let's rotate that up. There's another 2 degrees. Let's see how that looks. And how you can really tell is, like, you look at the distance between his fingers and his kneecaps. Okay, it's not too bad. So if his spine is pulling up, opening up and inhaling at frame 23, where's our clavicles at? Oh, that's another spine bone I've not been paying attention to. Boy, that's not good, Vince. Let's go to Tools, Name Selection Sets. It used to be over here. Interesting views, maybe? Probably looked right at it. Manage scenes. No, not states. I don't know where they moved it to. Oh, that sucks. Oh, there it is. It's under Edit. So you go to Manage Selection Sets. We're going to delete the spine out. All right, and just add a new one. We have all 4 bones in there now. All right, and I can add the neck bone and the root bone inside there too. Now, just to let you know I see very clearly that this head bone is not in sync for whatever reason with the head bone of the head of our actual physical character. I don't really care about that. It kind of looks alien, like Anunnaki or whatever, but it's not bothering me. So it's not critical. As long as his head rotates and the pivot point I assign, that's all I care about. Okay, so hitting play again. Or what did I do with my clavicles? Let's get those in the list. So the spine's at 20, pardon me, spine's at 23, so let's back this up to like 12, 13. All right, let's just see how that's going to do. It's probably going to be extra quick now. I mean, looking at your character, typically on the screen, like, you didn't really get in the character's face all that much. Like, he might go halvesies, right? We can wiggle his head a little bit, put some orbital motion on his head from, like, side-to-side movement. So, like, let's come over here and just put it, like, a half a degree this way. We'll put a half a degree going the other way. You know what? I'm so tired, guys. Let's try that again, because I actually don't remember which way I rotated the first time. So let's try that. Let's go half a degree. Oh, we'll go 1 degree. We'll go 1 degree that way, 1 degree the other way. Let's pull down this time. Sorry about that. Alright, that's kind of good enough. What's his hands doing? Is her hands okay? I mean, they're rocking back pretty hard over here in the beginning. So let's try to kind of keep him somewhat stationary, right? So let's see where he's starting at frame 0. Frame 0, he's almost dead on the thigh. Frame over here, so let's move it up a little bit. Just a little. Okay. Let's check the rest. Yeah, that's pretty consistent. Just move it back just a little bit. Now hit play. So the reason why it's stuttering like that, look at the trajectory. See how weirdly sharp this is? It's got to feel more oval. I see. It's because we pushed it forward. So if we undo all that. Rotate, move, move, move. There we go. I see. I guess it's not too bad. Alright, what if we add something? Now, you know I said in the beginning of this video, we want to rapidly prototype something. I am spending too much time on this. And part of the reason why is because I'm having fun and I like to try to discover this guy's personality, you know? So let's just call it a day, alright? So I'm going to hit File Save. I'm going to call it something brand new. So currently the way we've been naming things is SK for skeletal mesh, CH, which he's a hero, or I'm sorry, he's a character, he's a hero. His name base mesh 01 100 centimeters. Okay, so let's just kill all this. So we know his name's going to be. I do want to keep his base mesh. I mean, I like to work with this. So take the name out. He's going to be 00, and I'm going to move this to the end. We're going to call this idle. IDLE underscore 00. Okay, but I'm also going to do K, taking the S off. Even though it's skeletal, this file's for animation. Okay, K is kinematic. Okay, so that's animation set number 1. Now, how do you export this out? So let's just go ahead and, you know, I'll make another video on that exclusively. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. In the next video, we're going to learn how to deal with the set key, free key, plant key. All right, shalom.